Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you are in this world. We are excited to have you guys here. We're excited to do our third quarter town hall. I suspect that a lot of you probably just checked your inboxes and saw some of the things we're going to be talking about today. I'm super excited about some of these things. We have a couple other things that are on this roadmap that I think are really good. And as always, we are going to talk about some of the developments that we've done over the last 3 months. I want to point out some of the things that I think are valuable with these and how you as service providers can use these things. But of course, Giancarlo is going to get into some of the more technical details of these, and we will address those. So I see people are still onboarding here. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so to do that.
They're onboarding. I see them coming.
They are coming in. Yeah. Great, right? It's more of that like casual minute late thing, which is totally acceptable, especially with webinars these days, right? So let's do this, Giancarlo. Let's look at the agenda. Let me see if I can get my slides to transition. Here we go. This is what we're going to go over today. First of all, this silly intro. We're going to talk about some internal changes that we're making within Domotz, and I think there's some really good reasons why, and I'm super excited about that. But then we're going to get into this thing called GlassWire for Business, right? And what this is, what Domotz is doing with this, and why. Along with this, of course, comes what we are calling the Domotz Channel Partner Program. And so what does that mean for you guys? What does that mean for the business as a whole, and why? And then we'll get into a review of some of these items that we've done over the last quarter or the last 3 months. And then we even want to address some of the things that we're going to be doing in the near term. There's a lot going on here, Giancarlo. So yeah, it's a lot. I think we're going to get to the end. I do want to point out, as you guys know, this is yeah.
So you didn't mention anybody can ask questions from.
I was just about to say that, Giancarlo. With the webinar, right? You guys can ask questions. Use that GoToWebinar control panel on the far right side there, or wherever you put it on your screen. Ask us questions. We know that there's going to be a lot of questions. We're going to get to those as we can. And please note that we have our sales and support teams answering some of those things. But as appropriate, we'll consolidate these things and get into live questions at the end of this. So let's get started. Internal changes, right? You'll notice here that we're talking about a chief experience officer. Who better to be the Domotz chief experience officer than Giancarlo? So Giancarlo, talk to us about this change. You know, tell us why you're excited about this and what this means for us.
Thanks a lot, JB. You know, I've been with Domotz since day one, building from scratch the technology around Domotz. So I've been working with our engineers in Pisa first, and then with our technology support team in Utah second. So I've been following the entire stack, the technology stack in Domotz. I know Domotz from inside, but also from outside, how it should work for the users. And now we are in a position where we really, I mean, for whoever has been with Domotz for 5 or 6 years, they know how we care about our users. They know how we are very proactive in following up with any request that we receive. From issue, which of course is something that we need to fix, into feature requests. So we have been always like that, but we never had like a dedicated line of customer success or somebody that was entitled to do that. And I was following up with every single body from a chief technology officer point of view, being in contact with our engineering team in Italy, in Sofia, London, and the US. But now we are growing. We need to focus even more on the success of our customer. We need to make sure that the experience from the user point of view is the best for the adoption of Domotz and the new products that are coming. So for this reason, I will be helping you guys even more that I've done so far. And I'm super excited about that.
Giancarlo, I'm super excited about it as well. In fact, I brought up this Harvard Business Review paper about why businesses need chief experience officers. And I think it's extremely relevant. I really do. And it talks in this paper, if anybody's familiar with this, it talks about how the CXO needs to be not only outward facing towards customers, but it also talks about how they need to be inward facing towards employees, because it's really our employees. We've got 70+ employees now that are really driving this experience that we're creating for our customers. And in all fairness, I can't think of a better person than you, especially given the relationships you have with the support team and the engineering teams to really make this happen. So I am super excited about that. I do think a lot of people are asking then, well, every company also needs a CTO, so what are we doing there? And I'm super excited to say that we've got a gentleman by the name of Karthik Krishna that is going to be our CTO. He comes with a wealth of experience when it comes to IT, database management, and really, I'm going to say, pointing in the direction that we are taking Domotz. It's going to improve the back-end experience side that we have on from an engineering point of view and how the structures that we put in place happen. You've already seen, the team has seen a wealth of improvements that we've done over the last couple of years on speed and performance. I have to say it's just going to get better, right? So more to come on Karthik and what you're going to be seeing from him, but I am super excited about these changes. And Giancarlo, with that being said, you and I are going to be working a lot closer together when it comes to presentations and talking to customers, and I think it's just awesome. So thank you. Let's get to the meat of what this email that just came out, right, that all of you saw, GlassWire. So what is GlassWire? First of all, I've got a poll. Let me put this up here. I got to get to this. Let's launch this poll. So, are you familiar with GlassWire, right? Maybe you guys are thinking, is this a fiber optic company? Maybe you're thinking, I'm used to plastic over fiber as opposed to, glass. The reality is I want to understand what you guys are seeing, right? What you know about this, because I'm very excited. From what it is an endpoint monitoring, traffic monitoring tool. Okay, it goes on Windows machines right now. Essentially, it's going to look at all the applications that are running on that machine. It's going to look at the bandwidth being utilized by those devices, and it's going to give you real-time information about what's going on that machine. The great thing about it is, and the way I phrased it here, it's a better firewall. Yes, Windows has firewall, but I think any service provider, any IT department that has utilized this understands that they understand that the firewall could be better. GlassWire is that. So let me put down this poll here. This is great. What I'm seeing is roughly 15% of the people are familiar with it, which means that 80% of you don't.
Yeah. I was not expecting that to be, or so much.
I thought there would be more. I'm surprised about the 4% that are surprised that they're even here. Okay, so that just makes me laugh. But I think what you guys are going to recognize, especially, I'm sure some of you are going to glasswire.com and trying to see what that is. Maybe you're logging into Domotz and seeing what's available. But in my mind, this is a tool for you as a service provider, you as an IT department, to really give to your users to help them manage the firewall a little bit better. Okay. And I think with that, Giancarlo, we should probably go into a bit of a demo and show some of the capabilities of GlassWire. Are you good with that?
I'm completely fine with that, Chibi. That's a great idea.
So let me do this. I think people are going to love this. I've got a machine running in our office. Let's actually use Domotz to log into that machine. Okay, so we'll create an RDP session. So 786, I'm going to use my remote desktop because this is Windows based and I'm on a Mac. Let's see, 53786 is our unique URL that I have been given. So now let's connect to this. Let's agree to that. As with all demos, right, we got to see if this really comes up. Oh, okay. Are you guys seeing this? Hopefully it is being shared. I should get some thumbs up from people. Carlo, are you?
I see, but it's very small part of your screen. You're sharing the entire screen now.
You are correct. So let's make it bigger. So it should be full screen now. Okay. Giancarlo, I mentioned that this is really a traffic monitoring tool, right? Looking at the applications, there's a couple things that I think people will see and be familiar with on this machine, right? We're looking at processes that are running. And I know I'm just gonna quickly go into this, but I want you to kind of tell us what your thoughts are on how we should use some of this. First of all, what's your thought, Giancarlo? What should we point out first on GlassWire?
There are a few things and few features that we definitely need to highlight here. You probably mentioned before, it's an endpoint traffic analyzer and security tool. It analyzes traffic for all the application locally generated by the local application. And so you can use it for checking which is the application that is consuming the more bandwidth on your own system. But it's also from a security point of view, it analyzes the traffic that you are not expecting. And so for some application or for a new application, you can check if there is a new traffic, like traffic toward Italy, to give an example, or traffic to Russia or China, which you are not expecting from your own endpoint. Yeah, that's exactly the point. So your server now is connected to Australia for I don't know which reason. If you click on my server or my machine, I'm currently on a website in Germany, but let me start a session to QQ.
Which, by the way, this is a very subtle thing, Giancarlo, that we really need to. Oh yeah, all of a sudden you're going to China, right?
Oh yeah, that site's open a lot of ads and so on. So not only China, Hong Kong, Japan.
It's very real time. But here's a point that I want to make that people may not realize. While I was looking at my local machine and I logged into my machine, we've actually configured that machine to look at your Windows version and even my Windows version that I have running, right? So, this is some of the things and the power that I think GlassWire brings to the table here. Where did my machine go?
Yeah, that's correct, GB.
I opened it, which was my bad. Me learning how to use my own tool here. So let's go.
But that's definitely the first thing I would mention. You through the map and visualization over the map about the traffic that every single endpoint is generating, and specifically which are the applications that are generating those traffic. So if you go on my one, the ones that goes in China, so it's definitely.
Oh yeah, let me go to your machine. Sorry.
Yeah. So the ones in China, if you click on China, it will show up as Edge is generating the traffic, because that's what I'm using. So I'm using Edge browser to visit qq.com, and those are the endpoints that I'm hitting with my client, with my workstation or laptop here. So that's definitely the first thing I would say, but it's definitely a software that runs on the endpoint, and it can tell you all the applications that are running on the server. So you can see that from the traffic monitoring part, but even from the GlassWire Protect point of view, which is another area that we probably, I don't want to spend the entire hour now showing.
No, it's talking about the high level things here, right? So it's one thing understanding the traffic that's going on and having visibility. It's another thing to actually act as a firewall and being able to block services or apps that shouldn't be there. The cool thing about this is that, again, from my perspective, being able to look at specific applications that maybe you don't understand or aren't there and being able to immediately block it. But another thing here, Giancarlo, that I think is really valuable is you can now have profiles that you can set up. And on your system, right, because we're looking at yours, where we've essentially created a work and a home environment. If I switch to home, what you should see is that apps all of a sudden became unblocked, right? It's up to you as a service provider or an end user to figure out how you want to leverage this. But the power behind this, I think, is I'm going to overuse the word awesome, right? It's just a great tool that you have. Other things that I think will benefit that I was getting to is the ability to, when you have multiple GlassWire applications running within a network, being able to have visibility between those is one of the things that's really powerful tool too. So here you can see how we logged into the system and can see all that.
I agree. The firewall part is super powerful. In terms of firewall feature capabilities, worth to mention that you can configure GlassWire so that as soon as a new application tries to generate traffic, you can block by default and then accept with a click. So these are very cool features from a firewall point of view. And of course, it uses the Windows stack for firewalling, but it gives much more visibility of what is the real traffic and much more easy to use interface to block application and block traffic.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what GlassWire is about. I encourage you guys to go in and try it. In fact, if you go into your Domotz portal, okay, or go into the Domotz application, you'll see that you can go and download a license and start playing with it for free. The GlassWire for Business portion of it is really how you're going to be able to manage the licenses that go out on an organization basis, right? Giving you the scale that you as a service provider really need. So that's what you're going to see today, okay? And that brings us to, let me escape out of this here, and let's go back to.
It's worth to, since you are still there, it's worth to give a few information about the GlassWire score and the anomaly detection on the traffic, which is something cool and something that is already there. So we provide basically an indication on how, which are the chance of an application being a random application just showed on your own laptop versus the crowd, if it's shared by same peers or something. And same for the traffic. I mean, we monitor the traffic. We know how much is supposed to be the traffic for a specific application. And so we compare that average with your own usage, and we provide like sort of indication there might be something strange there to be checked.
I feel like between the GlassWire score, the anomaly detection, right, the capabilities, it really gives you as the end user, right, a much better understanding of what's going on your endpoint. And for you as service providers, it gives you better knowledge too about what's going on in the systems, okay? So check this out, try it, right, play with it, give us your feedback on it. I will say that the GlassWire team, we've gotten to know them over the last year or so, very incredible team, right? Great job of developing a product that is very user-friendly, easy to use, and I think works really well. So check it out and then give us your feedback. Now, along with having this, really lends us into our next big point, this Domotz Channel Partner Program. So why are we doing this? First of all, the acquisition of GlassWire, okay, and bringing them into the Domotz ecosystem and the environment means that we now need a way in which you as a service provider can actually resell this product. Because as you can see right now, right, and you will see more of this as you play with it, it really is an endpoint application, right? It's meant to sit on the Windows machine. A lot of the control of that is in the user's hands as to how they manage security, how they manage the firewalls. But the vision of this is that you as a service provider can resell this thing, okay, make your margins as you need it, right? But it also is going to help you better understand what's going on in the systems. We're going to start rolling in a lot of the capabilities that you see in the information, the data, the details that are shown at each endpoint into the Domotz architecture, into that Domotz ecosystem, so that now you can start setting alerts, right? When overusage of bandwidth happens on a particular application, or when there are certain maybe apps or services that start up when they shouldn't, or apps that get blocked when they shouldn't. You guys as the service provider should be aware of what's going on there. And you're going to start seeing more and more of that integration in there. And you'll get those capabilities through this channel partner program, right? So having, not only Domotz running in the network and monitoring the network infrastructure, but being able to see what's going on those endpoints is a critical part of this. This channel program, right? This channel partner program is what helps get you into that. You'll start seeing things like priority support, resources and training around GlassWire for Business now, but you're also going to start to see this extended into the Domotz platform as well, right? Because we think this is a really good thing. And, Giancarlo, you and I both have had many, many conversations around Domotz. And, Domotz, a lot of the questions we get from integrators or others, they're often trying to resell Domotz, but they always saw that pricing on our page. Well, this is going to be a way in which you guys can have some price protection in place. And this is something that we're doing in the future. And I'm really excited about this. Any other thoughts on the channel partner program, Giancarlo, that I may have missed or that we should address?
Yeah, I mean, there has been, we're supposed to do like question and answer at the end of the presentation, which is fine. But some of the questions are, let's say, in line with what you're presenting. And in particular, Michael is asking if, okay, the GlassWire is $2.50 or £2.50 UK per endpoint, regardless the amount, or is there any breaks, no price breaks with volume?
I love that question. You had to know that was going to be the very first question that came up, especially when I have a bullet that says discounted pricing. So the answer is yes, right? There's tiered pricing that happens right now with GlassWire for Business. And when you sign into that program, you'll see those things. But to the point that you just made, Giancarlo, it starts at $250, which is already, a roughly 20% discount from the standard pricing that you see on GlassWire's website. So that's good. We will address that. My recommendation is you guys, look at the channel partner program details, right? Visit the reseller website, sign up for it, and then we'll get you more information.
So we will get you more information, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, Giancarlo, now to the Domotz stuff. We've talked about you. We've talked about GlassWire for Business. We've talked about this channel partner program. I think there's a lot of people on this call that are very interested in what are all the developments that we've done over the last 3 months. What have our engineering teams been working on? So I kind of bulleted a list based on what I thought were some of the highlights. I'd love for you to dive into some of these details.
Oh yeah, to be a lot of stuff. So we focus a lot of the efforts on the improvements of some framework that we have been developing the last couple of years. One of the framework is definitely the custom scripts framework, where every single user can write their own JavaScript to integrate their own devices. And we will talk about that in those scripts. But of course, we have also put some effort in developing scripts for our users. But on top of that, we have done a few more integration with the capability that we have already, like you mentioned here on top of that, the Fortinet integration. We have started doing integration with FortiGate from a configuration management point of view. So you are now able to do backup and versioning and restore of Fortinet gateways or FortiGate firewall configuration files.
That's been a request that has been consistent over the last year. And we've done a lot of the basic integrations, but extending this to the configuration management, that was no small task, right? I know that took a while, but we've got it, it's working, and I know a lot of our users are going to be pleased to know about this and see it. It's been out there for a while and it's running good.
Yeah, I agree, JP. It has been out for a while, so people are appreciating that one. And similarly, for the Fortinet switches, so the FortiSwitch, we are now able to extract the port mapping, so which is a standard feature in Domotz, but most of the switches are compliant to RFCs, like RFC 4188. So they're fine, they're integrated in Domotz by default, but some other switches requires more effort, like in this case. Similarly, the PoE control, so you can now control the port status in terms of power over Ethernet of every single port of the FortiSwitch. So those are very nice things to be added to our stack of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the custom scripts side of things. In fact, I was bringing up Domotz so we could show some of this. I mean, over the last 3 months, we've actually made a lot of changes to the automation and scripts. And one thing, Giancarlo, I have to point out, we often are talking, you and I are talking to customers, or I'm on the phones with some of our sales and support engineers, and listening to customers. When they see these automation and scripts, right, these custom scripts that we've created, they're blown away by what they envision as the power of these things. And the thing that we've done in the last couple of months is we've continued to invest in these. In fact, you probably noticed that there's over 70 of these scripts that we have kind of productized to make sure that they're running efficiently. So I invite you guys to check out this library. We're getting to the point, I'm super excited about this, where if we need to search for specific things, right, the search engine becomes really, really useful. We're starting to implement tagging so you can find these things better. We're just continuing to grow this library, and it's getting better and better all the time. What do you think, Giancarlo, we should add, or information we should add? I know we've done some feature capabilities as well, like parametric, the ability to do parametric variables or scripts in there. What else should we talk about here?
So it's one thing that you are showing here, definitely, no, it's in the framework. So until a couple of months ago, all the scripts that we were developing were only available through GitLab. So you could download the script, bring it into your environment, and then associate the script to the device or test there. Now, all the scripts that we develop based on your request or our internal strategy, they will be available directly here. Now you have a search space on top where you can search among all the 70 plus scripts that we have. We will categorize the scripts. So we probably in the next couple of weeks or something, we will group by categories, which makes a lot easier to search among them.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the parametric capabilities that we've put in here? Because that's one of the things that the team has added as well, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true. So just to give an example, we had probably one of the most used script that we have developed, which is a simple script, but very useful and powerful, is the script that checks for the certificates validity of a website. So you have a website, you need to take care of the certificate. You need to take care of the expiration date of the certificate. Now, until 2 months ago, that script had embedded within the script the endpoint that you want to check, like www.domotz.com, and check the certificate for that website. And the website name was inside the script. Now, we can bring that outside and use as a parameter. So the script is generic. So you can have one single script and then apply to different devices with different parameters. So one device is monitoring www.domotz.com, the other one is www.glasswire.com, and so on. So it's very powerful. But very similarly, you can use the parameter for this generic approach. Same script, multiple or different applications.
Yep, exactly. I mean, being able to take a single script and have it scale across your platforms, whether you're doing, I mean, and it just depends on how the script is written, right? Whether you're incrementing IP addresses or whether you're putting in, variables, right? You can do that now, which I think is I'm super excited about. So good. Well, that's probably enough on the custom scripts. Let's talk a little bit more about pre-configured SNMP templates, right? And what we're doing there.
So that's a very good thing. So we have released in the last 3 months a lot more pre-configured SNMP templates. So for whoever has been with Domotz for a while, they know that we historically have the capability of monitoring every single OIT, which is a single object within the MIB file of SNMP. And a few years ago, we introduced the concept of MIB Explorer. So you can explore MIB and then select which OIT you want to monitor. And then again, 1 year ago, we defined this approach of template of SNMP. So we provide you with the simple question: do you want to monitor the ink level of the printer, and we do the job for you. We select the ID that needs to be used for monitoring the ink level of printers. And we introduced a few templates there, 2 or 3 like 1 year ago. And now we are adding more and more. Like, just to give an example, we can now monitor the APC UPS station. We can monitor iDRAC server through SNMP. We can even monitor, let me see, I'm scrolling down some of the additional SNMP we have added recently. Where is this one? We add more capability on Supermicro or WatchGuard firewall, and we are releasing with a very high pace. So every 2 weeks, usually, we release at least 1 new template, which can be used there.
And Giancarlo, this brings up a really good point that we usually say every time. I just want to say it again after this custom script and pre-configured SNMP template bullet. We want to hear from you guys, right? We want to know what your needs are, what you'd like to see, what you think we're missing, because to your point, we now have a team that is helping develop these things as fast as possible, but we need help in understanding the priority that we need to put on these. So, reach out to support, let us know what templates you'd like to see, let us know what scripts you think would be useful. We'll help you, right? We're not just throwing this over the wall and saying, have fun. Right, we want to see you guys be successful. So it's part of our
my new role is exactly to listen. Yeah, I mean, I have been listening to you guys for my entire work life in Domotz.
Yeah,
I am now entitled to do that, actually. So yeah,
that's right.
Very good point, JB.
It's very true, very true. Giancarlo, one thing I want to point out, because we've had this feedback from customers as well. They like the pre-configured templates, right? Being able to put a pre-configured template on a switch, for instance, has just opened up their world to all sorts of information that they didn't necessarily have before. And more importantly, it gave them the ability to alert on each one of those variables or sensors that we now pull into these templates. We also show history of those things, right? Whether it's a 30-day history, depending on the variable. I want to point out, right? One of the challenges that we also recognize is that when somebody would put, 1 or more pre-configured templates on top of, say, a 48-port switch, they would max out the number of sensors that we made available in the standard product. One thing that we are working on, and this is a little bit of insight into the future, is how we improve that. So that's not going to be happening, right? You're not going to be burdened by the limit on these sensors as much, right? We're going to fix that. So more to come on that over the next quarter, but we recognize that that's important. If you're running into those issues, by all means, reach out to us, right? Send a note to support, and we're going to take care of you, right? We're going to make sure, to Giancarlo's title, right, that your experience is good with Domotz. So
yeah, very good. Yeah.
Custom filters, Giancarlo, talk to me about that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, if you remember, and we can probably bring the demo on live now, but if you remember, we have a super powerful inventory dashboard. We have customers. I'm always proud about this. With my former CTO hat, I'm very proud to say that we have customers that they are monitoring tens of thousands of sites, which means probably 50,000, 60,000 devices all together with a single account. So you can filter them very quickly from here. So you have only, JB, your account is very small. You have only 33,000 devices, but still you can filter the device because it's still a lot to be managed, let's say, in an automatic way or more, let's say, scalable way. But you can create filter. What you can do is set, you can set specific model and you can save that filter. So once you create that filter with model like 350, whatever, you can save the filter. And this is a dynamic filter, which means whenever you go in this page and you use that saved filter, like Cisco SG 350, they will show up there. But most importantly, you can start using this custom filter that you just created here also in the monitoring dashboard. So what we have introduced a couple of months ago is the capability of using that custom filter to create what we call dynamic table. So You can add a new monitoring table, probably, from there, like even connectivity status.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
You select the fields that you want, and then when you are asked to select the device that you want to list in your table, you can choose the dynamic filter that you just created. What happens is today you have those 10 or 20, I don't remember, Cisco switches 350. If tomorrow you start monitoring a new site, or in an existing site you add the new Cisco 350, it will automatically show up here.
As long as it follows in through that custom filter criteria, that new device is going to show up there, right? Based on, and show all of the columns, the data, the sensors that you may have associated with that table, right?
Very correct statement, GB. Now, again, if we want to go in the future, this will also help you guys in setting automatic rules for alerting purposes. So you will be able to set an alert on the Cisco switch 350 automatically. As soon as the new Cisco switch shows up, boom, it will attach an alerting profile, and you can get the notification on your ConnectWise Manage or on your Synchro MSP platform, whatever. Yeah, that would be super.
Filters in my mind, Giancarlo, were somewhat of a game changer, if I can use that term, when it came to how the monitoring dashboards were getting utilized. Right, we know a lot of our service providers are using the monitoring dashboards to have their kind of technicians that maybe target certain areas, whether it's the network infrastructure or it's endpoints or even unified communications, right, and security cameras, things like that. It's very easy for them to know now when something has dynamically changed, and it really brought a lot of good use now to these monitoring dashboards and the tables and how you set these things up. So in my mind, it was excellent addition. So
very good.
Carlo, dedicated fields. Yes. Right, so talk to us. I know we've got some things like serial numbers, right, as a dedicated field. What else did we bring in? And while you're talking about it, I'll go find one.
So I would mention the serial number as the first one for sure. We also had the firmware version as a field for every single device or entity in Domotz. But let's focus on the serial number. What we have added there is the capability. So we were already able to extract this information through the means of different protocol, UPnP, SNMP, Bonjour, or specific custom scripts that extract the serial number. So we were already able to do that. And we were collecting this information, let's say, in a not very well organized way. Now we have organized and we have rationalized this information. So whenever there is a serial number, no matter how you collect, or we collect automatically this information, we put it there. So there is a field serial number that JB is showing. You can let Domotz automatically retrieve it. You can update it, but most importantly, you can use your asset management tool or documentation system like IT Glue or Synchro, where you put already a lot of information and let Domotz synchronize with this platform, also on the basis of the serial number. You can get the serial number from the tool, or you can push the serial number to that tool, which is huge, which is a huge achievement.
And by the way, since we've talked to more and more MSPs over the last several years and they are dealing with asset management tools like IT Glue, this notion of having a serial number come up is really powerful for them. And to your point, being able to do two-way synchronization, right? Whether you're putting in a custom serial number that relates to the nomenclature you guys use as part of your process or your SOPs, you can bring that into Domotz. Or if you want to take the true serial numbers that we're seeing out of the devices and bring that into the documentation, you can do that as well. So this, in my mind, was a great addition over the last quarter. I think we're continuing to extend that to some other fields, right, Giancarlo? I know serial number was one of those, but we're looking at other kind of dedicated fields as well, right?
Yeah, the firmware. I was mentioning the firmware version.
That's right.
Version.
Yeah, as a dedicated field is really good. So excellent. Okay. This one I think is interesting, and a lot of this kind of happens behind the scenes, but this advanced TCP scanning on layer 3. Giancarlo, talk to me about why we did this.
So there are some peculiar network where, for a reason or for another, let's talk about, so we are talking about layer 3 routed subnet. So there is a capability in Domotz where the Domotz agent is hosted on a device which has routing capability to another subnet, because by default it scans a lot on the network, but let's suppose via VPN or via the router you want to monitor and scan another router network, you can use Domotz for doing that. It's a layer 3 scan, so you only get the IP address, you do not get MAC address. Now, what happens and happened in the past is that there are two different cases where scanning a network, a routed network, via ICMP, which is the ping, it's not sufficient, or it's bringing wrong information. Two cases are, some devices might not accept ICMP ping, so they will show up as offline or not even discovered. Or in other cases, you might have a honeypot at the firewall level, where if you try to, let's say, scan a network to via ECMP, all the IP address in that subnet will show up as online. So we have added the capability of scanning and monitoring endpoints on a routed network via TCP, which means we do a TCP ACK on every single endpoint, and we check if it's online or offline. Now, again, there might be the case that honeypot is configured on the TCP stack instead of TCP layer instead of the ICMP, which means that all the IP address will show up as online. So in that case, better you use ICMP. So it's really up to the end user to select the appropriate level of scanning methodology and monitoring methodology.
To your point, I mean, you're using terms like honeypots, right? Honeypots are typically there for security purposes, which is a much more advanced network. I'm assuming that a service provider who's dealing with and has these types of challenges understands the network and what's going on. And so we've made it actually really easy to configure that layer 3 scanning to set up based on your needs, right? So I think that's a great advancement. Giancarlo, I know that there were, I'm going to use the word plethora, right? There were a plethora of other developments that we did, but I think these captured a lot of like the high ones and encompass a lot of the major changes that we're doing. I want to point out though that we're continuing this, and this kind of leads to our next slide, which is what's next? What's our near-term focus? Clearly, we're going to do more advances with custom scripts. We're going to continue to develop more scripts. We're going to broaden that capabilities. But I think there are some specifics here that you wanted to address that I think are actually really powerful. Do you mind touching on those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is within the, let's say, what we call advances in the custom script. And as I was mentioning at the beginning, we have invested resources in developing the custom scripts framework. It's giving its results a lot, which is good. I mean, it gives a lot of capabilities to you guys to monitor whatever you want. But we have a lot of other functionality in Domotz, like for whoever has been in Domotz for, I mean, forever, since the beginning, we were able to control the PDU, Power Distribution Unit.
Yeah.
We support 20 different brands, which makes probably 300 different models of PDUs. So you can control the power status of every single outlet in a long PDU. Through Domotz, you can tell, okay, this switch is connected to the outlet 3 of PDU XYZ, and you can reboot the switch because it's connected there. Now, whenever we need to bring a new model on board, we had to do some internal development. We call it native integration, or how do we call it that?
It's our integration, our driver's integration.
Yeah, it's driver integration. So it requires some time from our engineering to develop, but also to bring in live. Now, with the concept of custom script, we are basically going to enable every single user to develop a small script to control their own PDU or smart plug. You have like a TP-Link smart plug that you are the only one using in the world, but you want to control to Domotz, you will be able to do that. but most importantly, it will allow our team to be much faster in developing these kind of integrations.
Yeah.
This is just an example, but the other good example is the configuration management. We talked at the beginning, backup, versioning, and restore of the FortiGate, the Fortinet firewall. We basically collect the configuration file, we put it there, we create a version control, we give you differences between one version and the other, and so on. And this is all automatically done. Now, let's suppose you have your own telephone list or whatever, if it's a file on a server that you want to back up and versioning. We are going to create a framework within the custom script that will allow you to back up files, create a versioning of the files, create a restore capability of the file on that server. And this is huge, not only from the configuration management point of view of networking, but from a backup point of view, it's a huge step.
And Giancarlo, I know, I mean, you saying this, right? I know the way our team develops, right? They add a lot of capability and flexibility, but I mean, the ability to back up things from devices, I know we're putting it under the context of, you know, take a switch or a device and pull out that configuration file, assuming it has the capabilities to do that. I mean, this is going to be extended to so many devices. I mean, I can see it being extended to automation systems. I can see it being extended to IoT devices in general, right? They give you those capabilities. So super duper powerful, right?
Yep. I agree, JB. That's super powerful. I'm with you on that.
This notion of PDUs as well, right? Being able to have a framework that allows people to control like on-off recycling, right? Recycling of power, right? Is just great because again, I know that there are other systems out there that will be able to use some of those tools that are being put into that framework to control systems that just need software reboots and things like that. So it's super cool. Now, Giancarlo, I think you also have some automation things in mind with respect to custom scripts. Being able to, like, we added this notion of custom actions to the custom scripts, I think it was like 3-4 months ago, okay? We talked about it in our last town hall. Talk to me about how we're going to get more into automation with these scripts.
For sure, it's a spoiler. This is a huge spoiler to be from my point.
Oh, spoiler. Okay.
Yeah, spoiler. So, how is my audio? How can you hear me? Well,
I think it's great. Yeah.
Okay. So, the concept of custom script, the concept of custom action within the framework or custom script allow every single user to create a smart button within Domotz web GUI to execute something on the end device. But this is manual activity. I mean, you need to press a button once it is available on the GUI, on the UI, okay? Now, we always had this idea, and there are a ton of our users that they already do through external, let's say, portal like Big Panda or Zapier or EFFT, which means that whenever something happens on Domotz, they send a webhook to this external service, and then they, through the means of their algorithm, they say, okay, I want to execute something in Domotz, like reboot the port of a PDU or a port of a PoE switch. They're doing that already. We want to bring this inside Domotz. How we are going to do that is basically using this concept of the custom action as a notification channel for the events in Domotz. So again, something happened, an access point is discarding a lot of packets, or there are a lot of errors in, you can monitor that in Domotz. There are a lot of errors on the network interface port of an access point. It sent a notification internally to Domotz to trigger the execution of a custom script action to reboot the access point itself, either through soft reboot or the PoE ports, or if it's connected to a PDU, through the PDU.
Yeah,
that's basically the high level idea.
Yeah, so being able to create, let's say, a shared alert, right, that drives, right, the direction of a script, I think is just going to alleviate tickets from service providers, I mean, being able to automate simple things like you say, power cycling an access point, or triggering some sort of a reboot, or maybe even kicking off changes in variables that drive other systems, right? What a powerful tool. And in my mind, it's about efficiency for the service provider, right? If you can automate things, right, it simplifies their world. And I'm super excited about that. So that's great. We have 10 minutes left. I know I want to get to these next two bullets. I think people are going to be pretty excited about the network troubleshooting that we're doing. Let's talk about that, Giancarlo. What do you see going on? And while you're doing that, I will bring up some of the tables that I have that give a little bit of information.
Yeah, your table is very, let's say, alpha version, but it's worth to be shown because it helps us discussing on top of that. So
yeah,
we are monitoring the network, we are scanning the network, we are monitoring, let's say, primarily the endpoints on the network and what the information they can provide to us. But we also monitor the traffic in general on the network. We are monitoring the DHCP request that every single device does on the network. There might be an issue with your DHCP server, or like an issue with the device sending too many DHCP requests on the network that might create traffic and problem on the network. So we are adding this concept of monitoring widely what's happening on the network. DHCP request is something. We are looking at how many DHCP requests globally on the network you are receiving, and details on which is the device which is causing the majority of those DHCP requests. Then we have been monitoring the bandwidth through speed tests, UCLA or FAST or MLab.
Yeah,
those are the main technology. Speed tests against the one, so outside of the network. Now we are also monitoring what it's called buffer bloat capability. So it's a very technical concept of monitoring the quality of service configuration on inside your network. Basically, it's the technically speaking, it's the difference of round trip delay when you are overloading your network or when it's not loaded at all, which means that if this difference of latency is very low, it means that there is a very good quality of service configuration, because regardless if your network is overloaded, you can still stream a Zoom call or go to webinar call if there is a good time. So we are going to provide you with this information. We're going to provide you with jitter on the network. We are going to provide you with loops, an indication of the loops on the network, if there is a loop or dual path to a specific endpoint. And finally, we're going to indicate if there is any IP conflict on the network. If there are two different devices, I'd say, negotiating for the same IP address, we will inform you. We will send you an alert. We will put this on Domotz and say these two devices are conflicting in the IP address, which is an issue, which needs your attention.
Absolutely. I mean, Giancarlo, first of all, I think the DHCP requests, the IP conflict, getting alerts on those, in my mind, I think people get that fundamentally. You know, when it comes to this buffer bloat concept, you know, if you're a gamer, right, you know what buffer bloat is, because you're always trying to drive that down at your house, right? You're trying to improve the quality of service. But here's what I would tell you about for service providers, right? For many systems, especially smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, where you have limited bandwidth, but you have a lot of employees, you start to see issues where people are watching more videos, which our next subject is about our Domotz Academy, right? Which is all about videos for you. But you're downloading more of those, you're seeing YouTube, there's more advertisements going on videos, right? When all of that bandwidth is being consumed by tens, if not hundreds of endpoints, what can happen is if your quality of service settings are not set properly, you will see higher latency, which then directly affects services like unified communications, voice over IP systems that are requiring a certain amount of bandwidth, right, in order to, and latency, I should point out, to achieve. And it's, as we've always talked about, we do latency checking on endpoints or on IoT devices in the network. But if your latency is varying, that's when systems like voice over IP and video conferencing systems often have trouble, right? And you'll see jitter on the screens or dropped packets. So this is what we're helping with this. In my mind, these types of capabilities are just adding to what you as a service provider can do for your customers in improving their services.
Yep.
That being said, Domotz Academy, I am like super proud of our marketing team, right? They have put together, and frankly, our customer success team, they have put together some awesome videos that have really just been the beginning of what we're doing. This has replaced our 101 and 201 trainings. They've built it in a way that's scalable. And I think that it's easy for you as users of Domotz to comprehend, to see new features as they come out, and kind of grow with Domotz in an easy to use way. These videos are typically anywhere from 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the short end to 6 minutes. They're really not that long. We've tried to keep them in bite-sized chunks. We've tried to label them as, you know, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and we're continuing to add to this. So I am super proud of the marketing team and what they've put together, and I think it's just something you guys should check out. As we go down this path of the Domotz Channel Partner Program, these are some of the resources that you guys are going to see advanced on to help you better position yourselves with Domotz, as whether it's a reseller or user or channel partner, however you want to look at it. So I am very excited about all of these changes and the directions that we're going.
Yeah. No, and to be on the same line, on that line, there is one nice question I see from Ian. I mean, on that line, is there any certification path coming for the Domotz Academy? Let me mention something before answering straight to that one. So I'm very proud. I mean, from my history in Domotz, from the first day, I'm very proud to have built a tool which is so simple and intuitive that usually no certification would be needed for that. So that's the assumption here. But as you know, we are putting a lot more effort into, let's say, more advanced feature, more technical related features. So yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think it's all good stuff, and we're getting there, right, Giancarlo? So
yeah, so we will definitely consider this as a thing. No, we will definitely look into having the possibility to get the certification path for the Domotz Academy or related to the Domotz Academy for sure.
I do feel that our team has done a really good job of trying to make Domotz so simple to use that, you know, you can easily deploy it and you can easily get in and use it. But Giancarlo, you and I were just talking about this before the webinar. You know, Domotz is becoming so powerful, right, that not everybody knows the tips and tricks to get into some of the powerful capabilities. And I think that that's where a certification program, if you will, starts to become really useful. So it's something that we are strongly considering. So I appreciate the question.
Yeah, we will definitely work on that one for sure. Thanks, yeah.
Giancarlo, I see a lot of questions. I know that you and I have been talking quite a bit, but I'm looking at a lot of these questions. I also see that our team has done a really good job of addressing many of those questions. As you can imagine, several of these questions are around GlassWire, okay? So let me, as I look through some of these, one of the questions here that I see is GlassWire for Mac. I think that's a good question, right? We should also ask GlassWire for Linux, you know, if we have that. Giancarlo, what's your thoughts on where we are with that and where we're going?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we will achieve hopefully very soon. It's there. I mean, we did a proof of concept, so it's there. It's in our interest to bring both the Mac version and the Linux version. However, before doing that, and this is something that you mentioned at the beginning, we need to have a console in Domotz where you can monitor the traffic from your console in the cloud, which makes a lot of sense. And especially if you consider a Linux server where you want to monitor the application, the consumption of application, and you want to put a firewall, local firewall on the Linux server, Usually you don't have a GUI there, so it's very important that we develop that part first. So we want to bring that UI and that experience in the cloud first, and then the Mac version will come for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, from my perspective, Windows is the right starting place because of its sheer volume in the industry. That being said, I like the Mac OS, man. I use it a lot, and I do want to see GlassWire on that as well, just because it provides me with a lot more power on how I can manage apps and stuff that are running. So I definitely appreciate the question. It's coming, and we will work on that. Giancarlo, we're getting questions also around the Domotz Channel Partner Program and how that's going to work. That there's questions around discounts and stuff. We addressed that a little bit. Let me touch on this. From a discounting perspective, you guys can go to glasswire.com. You can see that it's $3 per endpoint. And when you go into the GlassWire for Business, you'll see that it's $250, right? So roughly a 20% starting out discount. When you sign up for the channel partner program, you will see tiered pricing for GlassWire for Business. So I encourage you to fill that out, and we'll work with you. Our sales team will work with you. GlassWire right now is really built around a volume-based pricing model, is how they structured it. And as with any acquisition, we're trying to work within the environment that we've been given while not disrupting things too much. And I think that's the right move for us as a company, because they really have built a great product. And as you guys use it, you will see that it has a lot of great capabilities there. As we extend the capabilities, as we build things like APIs, backend APIs into the environment, and we start to bring more data from the GlassWire application into the Domotz environment or into the cloud so that you can set alerts and things, I think that's when you're really, really going to see the value of being a Domotz channel partner. And frankly, it's on our near-term roadmap. We want you guys to go out and try GlassWire today, see what you like, see what you don't like, right? I want to hear that. I know Giancarlo as our CXO and myself as the product side, we want to know how you are handling GlassWire, what your customers think of it, so that way we can continue to improve it. Giancarlo, there's another question that is like on a slightly different subject that I want to address. We're getting questions around things like pfSense and SonicWall and Sophos, which I think, based on what you talked about with the new integrations that we're doing, it's going to lend itself to turning out, I'm going to say drivers, right, faster.
Correct.
What's your thoughts on that?
That's a very correct statement. So we have been a little bit, let's say, a little bit slower in the classical or legacy integration that we were building, because we are focusing on the framework, which will speed up the future development even more. So Sophos is definitely there on the roadmap. So as soon as we have this framework done, we will do the Sophos integration from what regards the configuration management, as well as port mapping of the switches and so on. So we will do that similarly. You mentioned another brands. You mentioned pfSense. pfSense, we have some scripts for doing that. There might be some issue. Our support is on top of the issue, so they will provide feedback there. So yeah, it's very good question.
Another brand, right? And a customer commented on this. I think it was Carrie. Juniper, right?
Oh,
Juniper is another one that we've seen a lot of requests for, right? Especially the not only their switches, but also the Mist platform, right?
If I remember correctly, we do monitor the Juniper OS in terms of configuration management. So Juniper, yeah, I think we have support for Juniper OS already. Yeah, we do for network configuration backup. If there is something more that you are looking for,
well, we'll reach out to Carrie directly on that. But I want to point out something here, which is, as we're releasing these things, they're in our release notes certainly, but we're also trying to make it more extensible, because there may be certain things that people are looking at from Mist or Meraki's platform or Ubiquiti's platform. And I think that the way we are doing our custom scripts and the extensibility gets you some of those details that you wouldn't get from other platforms. So we're going to help you there. Here's the thing I would say too, is this is where you guys need to reach out to us and let us know what your needs are, because otherwise we're developing in a vacuum and we don't want to do that, right? We want to know what you guys care about. In fact, I see some comments about ConnectWise, right? ConnectWise Manage, and you know, Giancarlo, you and I have talked to many MSPs manage and the configurations. I just want to point out those are coming in the very near term. So super excited about that too. So.
Worth to mention, we will be in Orlando in November. So both myself and JP will be at the IT Nation in Orlando that week. Come visit us. We'll have a booth there so we can meet in person.
IT Nation Connect, right? So we'll be
JP, there. There is a last question for you. Do you have a monster? It comes.
Do I have a monster? No, but I've had a lot of coffee. So yeah. I should actually probably be drinking a Monster energy drink, that's for sure. So
I don't know if it refers to the Monster energy drink or a Ducati Monster, probably. I don't know. I have.
You should be asking about my Ducati. Yes.
It might be your
Look,
Ducati.
We have a lot of Italians in our company. I felt like I needed to have a Ducati. So yes.
Very good.
I love it. All right, Giancarlo, we are out of time. We are 5 minutes over. I appreciate all these questions. The ones we didn't get to, we will address. Giancarlo, congratulations on your new role. I'm super excited for what that means for Domotz and our customers. I'm also excited about what Karthik's going to bring to the engineering team and how that's going to improve the back-end services and even the front-end applications and some of these integrations that we're doing. So stay with us. If you have questions, please reach out to support@domotz.com. If you got questions about the Domotz Channel Partner Program, by all means, reach out to sales and support, and we will get back to you ASAP. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again.